The Addams Family has returned in a new depiction of the family in Netflix's new series Wednesday, directed by Tim Burton and starring Jenna Ortega as Wednesday. For some, this will be the first time that they are introduced to these characters, while many will hark back to the films released in the early 1990s, where Christina Ricci stole our hearts in the same role. However, the Addams Family dates back to 1938, where a series of single-panel comic strips ran in the New Yorker magazine for over 40 years, where the characters never had the names that we have come to know today. No Gomez, no Morticia, Uncle Fester, Wednesday, you get my drift. They were just the Addams Family. Now, in 1964, the family moved to TV and they were given their names, and they broke boundaries as Gomez and Morticia were portrayed like a real married couple with a sex life versus the split bed married couples that we had seen prior on TV shows back then. The show would only run 2 seasons, but the characters would live on in reruns, cartoons, reunions, reboots of the show, comic books, and 5 films. As we prepare to watch the new set of adventures with the Addams Family clan, here are 5 things you may never have,
or probably,
heard about the Addams Family.
Number 5. In the upcoming Wednesday TV series, we see a frumpy Gomez instead of the suave version of the character that we saw Raul Julia portray in the movies. Tim Burton wanted to return to Charles Addams' original look of a then nameless character of the Addams Family comic strip, where Gomez had a tubby body, a stub nose, a crooked tooth, and a receding chin. It wasn't until the TV show where Gomez, like all of the characters on the show, were first named. On the TV show, we saw John Aston bring the character to life with his own interpretation of Gomez. You know, that slightly unhinged and manic look that Gomez had? Aston pulled that from his own life. Having lived through a rough part of New York City, he discovered that if he acted insane on the walk from his apartment to the subway, people would leave him alone.
That's an interesting way to develop a character.
I mean, you do what you gotta do.
Today, you can't figure out the crazies from the normal people because of Bluetooth cell phones and the earbuds in the ear. So you don't know if they're arguing with themselves or with somebody on the phone. Back then, when we were kids, that's when we knew to cross the street.
Yeah. Number 4.
The 1990s Addams Family films may have looked and felt different than what we know them to be today. For one, Tim Burton was offered the movie to direct, but he stated that he had little interest in directing an Addams Family story. That is until he's seen the recent script for the Wednesday TV series. The cast of characters that we know today would have been different too. During early talks of bringing the Addams Family to screen, Cher was attached to play the role of Morticia in 1989. At least that's what the rumor was in media. A few years later, Kim Basinger had been cast to play Morticia, but had dropped out, bringing us to Angelica Houston, who then became the Morticia that we know on screen today. Kevin Kline and Robin Williams were also linked to Gomez Addams at one point before Raul Julia took on the role, and then Anthony Hopkins, Bob Haskins, and even Danny DeVito all passed on the role of Uncle Fester before it eventually passed down to Christopher Lloyd.
Number 3. Before being cast in the role of Morticia, Angelica Houston grew up reading her parents' book of Addams Family cartoons and used to pretend in the mirror that she was Morticia as a little girl. The role wasn't particularly easy either, due to makeup and getting into Morticia's dress. In order to make her eyes look slanted, the makeup team gave her gauze eye lifts. Well, that sounds fun. This consisted of stickers being attached to her temples with rubber bands that met behind the head, and then on top of that, the wig, resulting in her getting terrible headaches. Houston also had to wear a painful metal corset to get the cartoon character's tiny waist, which prevented her from having the ability to lay down, which led to exhaustion, and finally she had to have neck tucks.
I don't know. I guess that's a neck tuck.
Like liposuction? I feel like that was just an excuse to get a liposuction. I don't understand how. I didn't play it. I don't know how it would lead to that, but okay. And a metal corset?
Yeah, corset's bad enough, but a metal one?
Exactly. Number 2.
As mentioned, none of the original comic strip characters had names until the TV series. Wednesday's name derives from an Old English poem used in the 1800s to help children remember the days of the week. Her name draws from a particular meaning. Wednesday's child is full of woe, which refers to the belief that a child that is born on a Wednesday will have a life full of bad luck and trouble. In the English dictionary today, woe is defined as an expression of grief, regret, distress, etc. But in the 17th and 18th centuries, it was more of an expression of deep concern and heavy responsibilities.
I'm a Wednesday's child. So is he.
That explains a lot.
Number 1. Charles Addams was known for having somewhat macabre interests. Somewhat? As a child, he would wonder what it was like to be dead, and this morbid view on reality would be displayed in his cartoons at an early age. For Charles, it was not a trip to the park that made him happy, but instead a trip to the local cemetery, which he would often visit. In 1933, he worked for True Detective magazine, where he had to retouch photos, removing the blood from the corpses that appeared in the magazine's stories. Addams often complained that a lot of those corpses were more interesting the way they were. As one might expect, his home reflected his personality, and it was filled with torture instruments and medieval weapons. He was especially fond of crossbows, and he admitted to fantasizing about shooting a robber with one.
This is a cool dude.
Okay, Charles Addams sounds like a fucking serial killer.
I think he's a cool dude. I would like to know.
No, I think he's a Dexter.
Nah.
I'm just saying.
He was ahead of his time in his thinking. It just wasn't widely accepted.
Really? He fantasized about shooting someone with a crossbow? And he thought that the people in the pictures looked more interesting with all the blood?
Not someone, a robber. He would fit perfectly in Florida.
I feel like he only said like a robber just to make it sound less horrible. He was a serial killer.
What do you think?
Yes, that shit's not normal.
I don't know. I would like to know. I have a cup of coffee with him, maybe a beer, kick back.
Well, I don't think that's possible because he's dead.
Swap some macabre stories.
There's something wrong with you.
Hey, he gave us the Addams Family. The characters kind of looked the way he felt. He put it out there. So, very cool.
I feel like the Addams Family wasn't exactly what he wanted them to be. I feel like if he had more like free reign about it, they probably would have been killing people.
Well, the characters are derived from his own maybe little inner demons. The mansion is constructed of places that he broke into as a child. And yeah.
Oh yeah, he sounds like a super normal guy.
In fact, his first wife looked just like Morticia. And then his second wife was a little shady. Took out some insurance policies on him and tried to set up certain things. Anyway, are you watching the Netflix series Wednesday?
So do you have any interesting facts about the Addams Family that we may have missed?
Yeah, there's probably a lot out there.
There were, I mean, first of all, the list that I went to was like 42, but I kind of just like picked, so I just like picked the ones that I really thought were interesting. And that other people would, I mean, some of them were, kind of like cheesy little things, but every list that I looked at was different lengths and all had different things. So, I mean, there's like hundreds upon hundreds.
Yeah. What iteration of the Addams Family do you like? I know they just came out with the animated films over the last few years. but I didn't hear anybody talk about them, so that's why I didn't really people may remember this. So, did you like the animated movies? Did you like the movies from the 90s? Did you even know about a TV show? Let us know. Drop it in the comments. And don't forget that it is the quest for 5,000 subscribers, and you can help us get there by
liking, subscribing, and sharing.
Yes. Thank you very much for helping us get to 2,000 subscribers, helping us hit not only 100,000 views, 125,000 views, and then we may have crossed the 150,000 views by the time that you've watched this. So thank you. And when we hit 5,000 subscribers, you have your chance, like I said, to win this box of cereal signed by Matthew Lillard and David Arquette. So until the next Pop 5, see ya.